We've added Milos Uzon to the group up here. These are the Houston Cougars. They had defeated SIU Edwardsville yesterday. They have a date with the Gonzaga Bulldogs, number 8 seed, tomorrow, 7:40 tip-off here in Wichita. And we're going to go straight to questions for the 4 student athletes. Anyone for anyone. Start there, and then 2 on the right. Go, please.
Kenneth Bowman, Clue TV. Milos, they'll come off a big, your first NCAA tournament appearance, 2 Big 12 championships, conference and regular season, and the tournament. How do you and the rest of the team try to stay on the main task and not get caught up in the moment of March Madness?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we got a veteran group. All of these guys have been here before. They trying to keep the main thing the main thing. I think just don't try to skip any steps. Our first step was to win the Big 12, and then we got to the tournament. Our next step was to win the tournament, and now we just got to take it game by game while we're here. So.
Joseph Duarte, Houston Chronicle. Let's go LJ and Emmanuel on this. Just when you look at this matchup, does this feel like a second round type game, just based on the seasons that both schools have had, or do you feel like this is the type of matchup that you would normally see later on, maybe second weekend, Elite Eight, that kind of stuff?
LJ, you're first, please.
I mean, it could be a later matchup, but I mean, last year we played, I think A&M in the second round. So you're gonna play somebody that's really good in around the 32. So yeah, that's out of our control at the end of the day, how they make the brackets. We were gonna get matched up with a good team, and it just so happened to be them.
Yeah. I mean, at this point in the tournament, you know, there's not really any bad teams. Every team is great, and, you know, it's just about, you know, us focusing on us and not worrying about, you know, whether this could be a later team that we would have played in a later round. We just got to focus on, you know, executing and doing what we're supposed to do.
Cole Forsman, Gonzaga Bulldogs on SI for LJ. This isn't your first time meeting Ryan Nemhard in the NCAA tournament, both at 30 and that Creighton-Baylor game from a few years ago. What do you remember about Ryan from that game, and what do you make of the season he's had?
He's a great player. I mean, he's won everywhere he's been. Steering the ship for Gonzaga right now. He has great vision. That game we played, I didn't know he could score like that, so it kind of took us for a little surprise, but he's a tremendous passer, and he's definitely leading the team right now, so I got a lot of respect for him.
Third row, Gina, right in front of you. Right there.
Eli Letterman, ESPN. Juwan, I'm just curious about the ankle, how it felt playing on it yesterday, and sort of where you feel like you're at moving forward in terms of the next day and the recovery.
I'm feeling pretty good. You know, got a lot of treatment at the hotel. Try to stay off my ankle as much as possible. So just get a lot of rest, but I'm ready to go.
Let's go Milos and LJ. They like to run a faster pace. They score 80+. You know, for those of us who've seen y'all defensively, what y'all do, and able to maybe game plan to make teams play your style. How do you do that? How do you make a team that's a faster pace maybe play your game?
Milos first, please.
Without giving away the secret, you know,
Yeah, I mean, shoot, we play extremely hard. We try to win every game, and I feel like in order for us to do that, they got to play on our terms. We're not the fastest team, so yeah, we're gonna have to slow them down on the defensive end and slow down their pace. So.
I mean, kind of like he said, we got to play the games on our terms at the end of the day, and just be us. We know they play pretty fast, and I mean, we kind of the opposite of them. So just go out there and do what we do at the end of the day, and yeah, don't get caught up in playing their game. Just try to play ours.
It's very neat of you guys to answer. Coach always talks about not being too high or too low on how you guys play. But when you have a first half like you did yesterday and shoot 61% from the floor, is there still some excitement that you guys have from that?
Let's go to Juwan and then Emmanuel on this one. Thank you.
I mean, going into games, we understand that we're not a first shot team. So we kind of rely on our defense, to be our backbone to stuff. And I feel like once we start, making shots, it's a whole different ball game. So, we didn't go into the game, aiming to shoot 61%. We just wanted to, come out the most aggressive team, jump out on our opponent first. And I feel like our defense and our energy led to us making shots. So I feel like rolling into this tournament, we just got to, just keep being consistent and just being us.
Yeah, pretty much, the same thing. We don't ever go into the games with a, offensive mindset. We go in there trying to play hard, play defense, rebound, and usually the offense comes after that. Even if we're not hitting shots, we're still rebounding. And, like Juan said, when the shots are falling, it makes the game that much easier for us. So, just continue to play hard and give the right effort, and, things will come on the offensive end. You won.
Right here.
This can be for any players, but when you look at, you follow college basketball, when you see what Gonzaga's done, your streak is just as impressive, but they've been to 9 Sweet 16s. I think you two teams have the same amount of wins over the last 8 years. You lead the nation. What do you see, or what comes to mind when you see that program, that name?
Start with Emmanuel on this one, then go to LJ. Thank you.
It just shows that they have a winning culture, just like we do. And, throughout the years, that shows that. Their record shows that. And, we're consistent with, our effort throughout the years and teaching the young guys the culture and keeping that alive. And it looks like they do the same. So, hats off to that program. It's a great program. And, they're a great team.
Yeah, he pretty much summed it up. It's culture versus culture. That's all I got to say.
Juwan, you guys went undefeated on the road this year. In comparison to other years, being on the team a long time, did that help you prepare for the tournament this year?
You said had the road games prepared us?
Being undefeated on the road, did that help you prepare for the tournament this year in comparison to other seasons?
Oh yeah, 100%. Especially when we go on road games. I just try to tell the guys, we all we got. Most road games, you look in the crowd, we got a small portion of Houston fans. So, any support that we can get, is appreciated, but we trying to stay, together. So going on road trips or being in a tournament on a neutral court, you kind of treat it the same way. But, the outside noise, we try to, get that out the way and just trying to focus on us. It's only us and the coaching staff that's been with us every day, behind closed doors. So just going into these games on a neutral court, we just try to believe in ourselves and just trust each other as much as we can.
Back in the second row. Thank you. Yep.
Hey, Los, as a point guard, can you appreciate Nembhard's got 333 assists? When you look at that number, what do you think as a point guard?
Nah, that's impressive. He's got 300 assists and probably 70 turnovers. So, is it somewhere around there? His assist-to-turnover ratio is off the chart. I know he's probably leading the country right now, but he's a really good point guard. I'm excited to match up against him and see what it's like. So.
Anything else for the Cougars of Houston? Right in front of you. Thank you.
So Maggie from Derby. Leading up tomorrow, how important is your leadership to the team leading up tomorrow?
You leader game.
LJ, go ahead.
You said leadership, right? we got. I mean, it's going to take a lot of leadership in this game. They're a great opponent. They're going to make runs, and we just got to be able to weather the storm. And we're going to have guys making sure we're engaged at all time and not getting too low, because at the end of the day, they're a good team and they're going to have their moments and we're going to have ours. So when we have ours, we can't be too emotional and going crazy. So we just kind of got to be steady.
To add on to that, just trying to let the guys know that, it's two teams, that's trying to keep their season going on. So we're going to get their best shot and they're going to get our best shot. So I just feel like it's just come down to, who wants it more. It's a one-game tournament. We're not trying to think about, ahead of time. We just try to be where our feet are and just realizing that, you just got to limit mistakes and just go into this game, just be overly prepared and just know that, if we lose, our season is over. So we just keep that in our back of our heads and just trying to keep this going as long as we can.
Anything else for the Houston Cougars? All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Best of luck tomorrow. Head coach will be up here at 1:55. Thank you. Good luck. Head coach of the Cougars is here, Kelvin Sampson. We're going to ask him to make a statement about surviving and advancing yesterday and about the opponent tomorrow at the 7:40 tip-off, the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Kelvin, please.
Yeah, excited to still be around. Beats the alternative. But, this NCAA tournament is so exciting for kids, coaches, fans, families, everybody. But as you advance and go from round to round, it only gets tougher. So every team you play is good enough to beat you. So your goal is just survive and advance. If you play good, you got a chance to advance. If you don't, you go home. Simple as that.
Start right here in the second row. Thank you.
Joseph Duarte, Houston Chronicle. Kelvin, just a little while ago, LJ was saying that this matchup was culture versus culture. When you look at the consistency of both programs over the last decade or so, what do you think about a matchup like this and being in the second round and really we could see this game being a second weekend, Elite Eight type matchup?
Yeah. Well, we've only been doing this for about 7 or 8 or 9 years, whatever it is. Mark's been doing this a lot longer, so don't compare us to Gonzaga. We've been to, if the pool kid doesn't hit that shot, that's 6 straight Sweet 16s for us, right? Well, they're 16, so we don't really compare to them. They're what every program aspires to be. Have that consistency year to year. We've been good in our little bubble, but what Mark has done is when you do this for a living like we do, you look at Gonzaga. Of course, I remember when Dan Fitzgerald was the coach. I remember when Dan Monson. One of my really good friends, Mark's one of my really good friends. I've been knowing those guys forever, and from afar, I've always admired them, always respected them, but also I've been proud of them too, because they're good friends and people that I have tremendous respect for. So when you're playing Gonzaga, you're playing one of the elite programs in the history of this game. And I really mean that. That's true.
We're on the aisle, then we're over there. Go, please.
Kenneth Bowman, Coug TV. Coach, yesterday Mercy Miller got his most minutes ever in the season. What have you seen from Mercy that allows you to trust him? It was a blowout, and certain situations allowed certain guys to play more minutes. But what have you seen from Mercy that's allowed you to trust him to see the floor more?
Well, Mercy's a hard worker. He's also a great kid. Really good teammate. He wants to be good. I think he realizes that he's playing behind some really talented older guys that can only help him. Comes to practice every day with the right attitude, and as long as he keeps his attitude and his effort at a high level, Mercy's going to be a good player.
Right-hand side, Coach.
Jason Bristol from KHOU. Good afternoon, Kelvin. Yesterday, Mike White, after the game, was here talking about their preparation for Gonzaga, and they mentioned about how they were trying to force skips and forcing their bigs to pass it. They made us pay. I was curious if you've noticed the same thing, you and your staff, about Gonzaga's bigs and what has impressed you most about them in reviewing the tape.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. They're good at that.
Austin Getz from KHQ TV in Spokane. Coach, you were just kind of talking about the relationship you have with Mark Few. I have to imagine that started when you were at Washington State. Do you have a greater appreciation for the program because you were so close in proximity to that and saw it when it was really the building blocks with Fitz and Munson and whatnot?
Yes. We were also young. Washington State was obviously the hardest, toughest job in the Pac-10. If it would have been a good job, they would have never hired me. They would have hired a real coach, somebody that was really good. I was 31 years old. My first contract was a 2-year deal for $82,000. For you guys that are challenged by math, that's $41,000 a year. So I assumed they were doing that and then so they could go find another guy. But the guy that saved me, in this day and age, I would have been fired. My third year, we lost 18 straight games. I had a kid from Spokane named David Sanders. He had some kind of blood infection and lost him for the year in December before the Pac-10 season started. And then I had another kid from Snohomish. You can tell I've can tell I worked at Washington State. Most guys never heard of Snohomish or Chelan, Moses Lake, Ellensburg. See, I'm down with the state of Washington. But we lost those guys. You don't have any depth as you're building the program. You're pretty good 1 through 5 or 1 through 6. So those are our 2 best players. And we beat USC on a Thursday at home, and then lost to UCLA on Saturday, and then lost 17 straight, including the first game of the conference tournament. But Jim Livengood was the AD. We didn't have social media then. This was in 1989, maybe, 89, 90. And Gonzaga wasn't as bad as we were at Washington State, but they were struggling too. But that next year, we got it turned around and, did pretty good over the course of the next 7 years, 6 or 7 years. But I was a head coach of a USA team, and Dan Monson was my assistant. And his dad, Don, who's one of the great coaches in that part of the country at Idaho, and his best player was a guy by the name of Donnie Newman. And Donnie was my assistant at Washington State. And he loved Coach Don. And so Gonzaga was somebody we'd always looked up to. And then when they started rolling with Mons, and then Mons left and took the Minnesota job, right? Yeah. And then Mark came in, and now, all these years later, he's not one of the best coaches in our game. He's one of the best coaches our game has ever seen. Mark is a Hall of Famer, not just Hall of Fame coach. He's Hall of Fame everything: father, husband, friend. He's one of those guys that makes our profession look good. Mark's a great guy.
Despite all those challenges you were talking about at Washington State, you were able to go to the NCAA tournament in 1994, your first trip ever. How often around this time of year are you thinking back to that team, and what was that experience like, for a young coach like yourself to be able to get to the big dance?
Yeah, I still hear from a lot of those guys. Eddie Hill's an assistant at University of California, Riverside. Mark Hendrickson, we played West Virginia. We played in Morgantown earlier this year, and Mark brought his whole family and his little girl's basketball team, and got to spend time with Mark after the game. Well, last year we played the Veterans Classic at Annapolis at the Naval Academy, and he came over and I actually had Mark speak to the team. He did an awesome job. Mark's an awesome guy. So I still hear from a lot of those kids, and I appreciate it because it always makes my day when I hear from them. I love that team.
We are halfway through. We have 3 questions up, all on the right side. Go, please.
Eli Letterman, ESPN. Kelvin, you've been in this tournament before. You know what it takes to make a deep run in it. I'm curious if there are different dimensions about this team this year. The shooting, I know Los' development has been a big piece that do give you that confidence that maybe you guys have different dimensions that can carry you.
Yeah. Well, there's no substitute for talent. Actually, when we were in the Final Four, Gonzaga was in the Final Four with us that year. I think they played, who did they play? UCLA, and we played Baylor. It didn't take me long to realize we weren't as good as Baylor. That might be the best team we've played since I've been at Houston. They were that good. But I think the clear second best team in the country that year was Gonzaga. I thought the 2 best teams in the country played in the championship. I don't think we were quite as good as Baylor. And Gonzaga was right there behind them probably. But our team this year, we have, I think we have a really good team. I don't think we're great. You know, it's not this team can shoot better than some of the other teams. We have more guys that can make a basket. But, you know, we're like every team. We have to play really good to win. And we have to have certain things go our way. But this team has gotten better over the course of the year. One thing, you know, older coaches tend to try to educate when people ask questions. They try to control the narrative, if you will. I've learned to never overreact to games in November, wins or losses. It's amazing how people put a period at the end of a game in November. They don't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, we lost 3 games in November, and I thought all of them were good for us. I mean, honest to God, we tried to beat Auburn. Couldn't. Tried. They just beat us. Alabama, we had a chance to win that game. Probably the game that kind of wish you had back a little bit was San Diego State. And then once we got home, problem with playing in a tournament where you're gone for 7 days, you never get to practice. So once we got home and got to where we could practice, our team started improving, especially when Uzan started getting better. But I give our players a lot of credit for that. Our players gave him permission to be their point guard, and they encouraged him. They made sure he knew that they believed in him. You know, sometimes the coaches get way too much credit for stuff. Our program is very much a player-led program versus a coach-led program. Our players, tremendous kids, great character, integrity. We never worry about discipline problems. We don't have any of that. And they do a great job of caring and taking care of our culture. And that's one of the reasons why we've been able to be as consistent as we have been.
Standing up, thank you.
Yeah, Theo Lawson with the Spokesman Review in Spokane. You guys played Arizona twice. How many parallels do you see between Mark's team and Tommy's team, and can you kind of draw on those experiences when playing Gonzaga tomorrow?
Yeah, not many similarities because their personnel is so different. Both teams are really talented. Both teams really have great size. The Visar kid and the Awaka kid, I mean, Arizona's big. But, and they started 2 5s against us, I think the second half in the tournament, which was a good move because we didn't have Roberts. Roberts didn't dress for that game. And so, you know, we just figured a way to win the game. I think the difference in the two teams is Nembhard. You know, it's hard to duplicate him. You have a point guard, they have a point guard, but your point guard's not like Nembhard. You know, he has an uncanny ability to get the ball to their bigs when they're open. A lot of guys see that they're open, but by the time the synapses are firing and the ball's delivered, they're not. He gives them, as soon as they turn, they have it. You can't teach that, you know. So if I was going to say the difference, I'd say they both have great size. They're both really talented shooters, good guards, but they don't have Nembhard. He's a very special point guard.
5 minutes ago. Next question is right here. Thank you.
Kelvin, the ability to get your regulars to pull them early yesterday, given that you won't have many of those opportunities later, how important was that, especially for maybe someone like J1? And if I could sneak in, didn't you try to get a game with Gonzaga in 2020 21.
Gonzaga.
Gonzaga.
Always burns me up when people say that. You know, it's like calling me Kevin. My name is not Kevin. My mother used to say, people would see my name and say, "Hey, Kevin," and she would say, "Don't let people call you Kevin. Your name is Kelvin. Make sure they pronounce your name right." So that's why my antennas go up with that. Same with Gonzaga. They were our neighbors. It's not Spokane, and it's not Gonzaga. It's Gonzaga and it's Spokane. Go ahead.
Well, Gonzaga, didn't you schedule or try to get one that year when you had, I think you had an open week or something?
Yeah, I know Mark and I talked about it a couple times, regular season and scrimmage. You know, I remember Tony Bennett, Tony called about the same time, and he wanted to come scrimmage, and I remember saying, "Scrimmage? Let's just play." And that's how we played home and home with Virginia. And Scott, I think Mark and I, we were going to go play in, I could have this wrong. Did Gonzaga play Baylor in like South Dakota or somewhere like that? Yeah, I think they had talked to us about doing that, but I don't remember the details or why not. But yeah, I don't remember. We schedule enough losses in the non-conference. We don't need another one.
Anything else for the head coach? Yes, right in the center there, about 2 minutes to go.
Kelvin, I know they're on the other side here, but I'm curious of your impressions of Drake and perhaps what you've seen from Ben McCollum in terms of either the basketball they play or the ability to establish an identity in what's been a short period of time.
Yeah, I haven't seen enough of them to have an opinion. The only time I saw him was when we were getting ready to play Kansas State. And then one of the games I looked at on film was their game against Drake. And the thing that stood out was how disciplined and how well drilled they were. I mean, as a coach, you look at the way they ran their stuff and how connected they were, and you can tell. I don't know their coach, but you can tell he's really good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Best
guys.
of luck tomorrow against the Bulldogs. Cougars and Bulldogs, 7:40 tip tomorrow. Thank you. Next up are the